here today to talk to you about the advantages of making a cake homemade from scratch versus actually buying a store-bought cake or buying a cake mix and preparing it from a box. When you buy a cake from a store that's already prepared, it is actually made in almost like a manufacturing setting. They take some ingredients, they mix them together, and then it is baked in a factory. From there, it is frozen. It is then shipped to your local bakery. At that time, they thaw it out and place it on the shelf for you to buy. The average time from when they first mix the cake up until it is actually on your shelf and you purchase it is about 3 weeks. The reason they are able to do this is because they are packed full of preservatives and because they are frozen to help preserve them even longer. With a box cake mix, all the ingredients are put together in a factory once again. They're placed in a box and on the shelf for you to purchase. When you bring home that cake mix, you add about 4 ingredients to it and then you bake it. That sounds like a pretty easy way to go, but you're not really sure what you're eating. The ingredients are already put in there for you, and if you turn the box over and try to read it, it's not going to say flour, eggs, sugar. It's going to have a list of long words that are hard for us to understand. The bad thing about box cakes mix is they are packed full of salt, sugar, colorant, and also artificial flavoring. The problem with colorant is that the University of Michigan recently did a study. The study linked artificial colorant to causes of ADHD. To me, that's a real problem. Not only are we feeding our kids a cake mix that can harm them, but also is really not healthy for them. Cakes are not considered a health item at all. But when you make a cake from scratch, you're able to control what goes into that cake. If someone in your family is a diabetic, or if you don't want your children bouncing off the walls, you can choose to substitute with an artificial sweetener, such as Splenda. You follow the directions just as they are on the recipe, and then when you mix it all together, you just substitute the Splenda in place of sugar. That's a very healthy alternative. Also, you can choose to make your cake organic. You go to an organic market, or there's an organic section in your grocery store. You go there and you buy the same ingredients, you put them together, and you have, once again, a healthier version of a cake for your family. Most people are afraid to try to make a cake from scratch. They're afraid that it will be too difficult, that it will require too many ingredients, or that it will take a long time. But that's not the case. On average, to make a cake from scratch takes about 5 to 7 minutes longer than it would take to make a box cake mix. When you make a box cake mix, you have to preheat your oven for 10 minutes. So once you are done preparing your cake, you're standing there for the remainder of the time just waiting. With that extra time, you could be preparing a cake for your family that is not only healthier, but tastier. So, once again, it only takes about 5 to 7 minutes longer, which is not long at all, considering that you're going to get a better cake. Not only, are cakes healthier, and once again, you control the ingredients, they are made by your hands. You know who's touching your cake, who put it together, and you were there for every step of the process. If you would like to choose to add fresh butter to your cake, you have that option. If you want to choose fresh flour, you have that option. But you don't have that option when you have a box cake mix, and even less of that option when you buy a cake from a store. I used to really not like cakes. When I would go to birthday parties or family functions, I would never really get a piece of cake because I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the way they taste. They contain tons of sugar, and that really wasn't what I craved. With a cake made from scratch, I began to love it. When I got married, my husband expressed an interest for homemade German chocolate cake. He grew up where his grandmother used to bake for him, so that presented a challenge to me. I wanted to be able to prepare a cake for him and for him to enjoy. So I began making a homemade German chocolate cake. That was my first experience. From then on out, I have loved I have enjoyed to make cakes and love the taste of them. Not only are they're healthy, but they taste so much better. You can really not even compare the two. When you think about eating a cake from a store, you don't know what you're getting. But when you get a cake from your kitchen, you know exactly what you're putting in your children's mouth. Whenever you go to a family function, or if you have a lunch at work and you are to bring a dessert, as soon as you mention a homemade cake, your co-workers and your family's eyes will light up. They know that it will taste better than what they're accustomed to. I find it not as common these days for people to make homemade cakes. I think it's because they're scared of the whole process of it. When you think of making anything homemade, you think that it's going to be a huge process and it's going to take forever and require tons of ingredients. And also cost may play a factor. But actually the cost is only about $1.50 more to make a homemade cake. Depending on what kind of cake you want, if you get fresh ingredients, of course your cost is going to go up. And if you get organic ingredients, your cost to go up. But it's all in what you put in there, and it's totally up to you. So to further prove my point, I decided to do a little experiment. I purchased a store-bought cake and a store cake mix. I prepared the cake mix, and I also prepared a cake made from scratch at my home. I took these 3 cakes to work and presented them to my coworkers. I gave them a ballot for them to check the cake that they enjoyed the most. It was surprising to find out that 89% of my coworkers preferred the cake made from scratch over any store-bought or box cake mix. The box cake mix was the second runner-up, and I think that is mainly due to it is fresh. You have a fresher cake, it's not 3 weeks old, and so they enjoyed that as a second runner-up. But when you think of a figure of 89%, that's enough to tell me that I can use those extra 5 to 7 minutes and prepare something that not only I will enjoy more, but my family and friends. So today I would like to encourage you all to attempt to bake a cake made from scratch. Don't be scared, just attempt it. The first time it may not turn out exactly right, but that second time you'll get it all together. So there's my presentation. Again, go home and try to make a cake from scratch. Thank you.
Yay! Everybody submit.